Hey guys, you know what time it is? You can see my shirt that I'm wearing right now. Yes, it is finally time to talk about Matt Reeves, the Batman. And you know, I'm sorry it took so long to get this out there. A lot of complications, but now I assure you my reviews are going to be rolling out steadily for the rest of the existence of this channel here. So be on the lookout for that. It's going to be so much fun. But yeah, I had to talk about this movie. Obviously, this is actually my second most anticipated film of this entire year. Because, you know, it was delay after delay. Everybody wanted to see this movie. Because obviously, the past couple Batman movies we've gotten, one was a Lego movie, which is really good. I'm not knocking it. And the other one was Batman versus Superman. So, you know, it was about time to get a fresh reboot. The Dark Knight Rises was the last, you know, really grounded Batman movie that actually made sense. So, it had been some time since the Nolan trilogy, and everybody was clamoring to see, well, maybe some people, but Robert Pattinson as Batman. Well, people with good sense, I'll put it that way. But I was so excited too, because I knew that the approach that Matt Reeves was going to take to this movie would have been dark, gritty, psychological, almost like if David Fincher had directed. If it was like a mix of like Seven and Zodiac. So that prospect was very, very exciting. Everybody was hyping this up, that this could be the next great Batman movie. And I mean, you just look at the likes of this cast along with Robert Pattinson. You have Jeffrey Wright as Commissioner Gordon, Zoe Kravitz as Selina Kyle, Colin Farrell, an unrecognizable Colin Farrell as the Penguin, Andy Serkis as Alfred, and of course Paul Dano as the central villain in this movie, the iconic Batman villain, the Riddler. So that already drummed up excitement, and let me tell you, it was completely deserved. This movie's just fantastic. Really, right from the beginning, I was hooked. And really, this delivered on everything I wanted it to do. And obviously, I'm not going to say it's a flawless movie. It's not The Dark Knight. But then again, most movies aren't. So making that comparison is a little bit of a stretch regardless. But the thing that is so incredible about the movie is the tone. This movie is easily the darkest Batman movie. Both thematically and visually. I mean, it is really, really bleak. Very, very dark shadows permeate this whole thing. The color palette is very, very subdued and very just kind of drab looking. But I think it makes that vision that Matt Reeves had of Gotham that much more effective. Because really, this place is a grimy sleaze hole. And you just see all the crime that's coming up in here. And I don't think Gotham has been captured better, except in Joker, where you really, really feel the grimy nature of the city. And I just think it's highlighted so beautifully, even from the opening few minutes when Batman comes in and they set up like the meaning of the bat symbol, what Batman is to these people, how he is fear, and how fear is used as a tool, as a weapon, if you will. I mean, it is absolutely brilliant, this VO that happens at the beginning. And usually I'm not a fan of voiceovers or narration, but sometimes you can do it really right. And luckily, this movie doesn't rely too much on it, and when it is used, it is just fantastic. So, really great stuff there. But, I mean, yeah, I mean, even before that, you have this, I won't spoil too much because this is going to be a non-spoiler review, but there's this POV that opens the film, and it is just absolutely brilliant. It immediately sets a sense of urgency and direness, and really just keeps you on the edge of your seat throughout the whole movie. And the other thing that's so great about this Batman movie that I think a lot of people were hoping for, it is the most detective Batman story we've ever seen. We get to see why Batman is such a great detective. I mean, especially coming from a company that is called Detective Comics. You would have expected that. I mean, it's so true to the essence of Batman in the comics, and just him like trying to figure out what the Riddler's placing in front of him. It really makes a very, very complex, I guess, cat and mouse chase, though really they're intellectually equals, which I think works so well. And Robert Pattinson, gotta talk about him, the elephant in the room, or should I say the bat. I'm sorry, I won't ever do that again. But really, anybody who had doubts this guy wasn't a great actor, I don't know where you've been like the past 5 years. I mean, this guy has been pumping out career-changing performances, one after the next. The Lighthouse, Good Time, the list goes on and on. But here again, we get a very, very definitive Batman. And I absolutely love him in this role. Especially in the suit. I think it's the coolest Batman suit that we've seen, and his performance is very physical, which you need that physical intimidation to play a role like Batman, especially considering that he has to lay down the law in the city, especially because everybody else around him isn't really keeping up their promise. And so you get to see a lot of that in the movie, and of course, we were talking about the cast already. Really, everybody's so great. Zoe Kravitz is great as Selina Kyle. And very, very interesting take on the character, but one I think absolutely works. Jeffrey Wright is great as Gordon. And only time will tell if he's the best Commissioner Gordon. But his relationship with Batman is easily the best it's ever been in any movie. You really get to see these two work together, hand in hand, in tandem, and it just is so awesome to see their relationship and partnership unfold on screen in that kind of way. And of course, you also have Colin Farrell as Oswald Cobblepot, aka the Penguin, who is absolutely unrecognizable. I mean, the makeup team did a bang-up job making him disappear, but obviously he is such a great actor in the first place. You would expect that from him. There's only one scene where I could kind of hear like the accent, but other than that, it's undiscernible that it's him.
Whoa, take it easy, sweetheart.
Absolutely brilliant. I can't wait to see the show that they're coming out with for him. So, he's going to be the best Penguin in time, because Danny DeVito's great in that role, but I don't like what they did with him in Batman Returns. I don't like a lot of things they did in Batman Returns. But anyway, we're talking about this one. And he's just absolutely great in the role. And another really, really strong performance in the movie is John Turturro as Carmine Falcone, who I didn't realize was in the movie at the beginning, but I think he gives us the best Carmine Falcone we've ever seen in any iteration of Batman. And really, I wouldn't expect to cast him in that role, but he kills it. And of course, you got to talk about Andy Serkis as Alfred. Not who I would have expected him to cast as Alfred, but obviously, Andy Serkis with the Planet of the Apes movies, it made sense. He already had that working relationship with Matt Reeves. He comes in and absolutely crushes it. He's not in the movie too much, but when he is, he leads to some of the most emotional and poignant moments in the entire movie. Job well done, Andy Serkis. As always, just such a phenomenal actor. But really, I think the standout here is Paul Dano as the Riddler, which you would hope, considering he's the main villain of the movie. But really, he is such a intimidable presence. It's just so creepy, gets under your skin, certain looks he'll give. And obviously, we've seen Paul Dano pull off that effect before, especially in movies like Prisoners. And so casting him in this made absolute sense. But really, you also kind of get an understanding of the Riddler's backstory, at least a little bit, and why he would be where he is in the situation. And I just think it's absolutely brilliant. The way he lays these riddles out for Batman to solve. Really, really dire riddles, you could say. And though some may have criticized the fact that they're a little simple to solve, I don't really care that much, but I think it's because Batman is a brilliant detective too. But then again, I could figure out some of them. So it is what it is, but I just think his whole plan and just the way it ties into real life, a real life situation that could absolutely happen. It feels very, very grounded, and I absolutely love his take on the Riddler. And of course, we just have to talk about how well made this movie is, because Matt Reeves is a phenomenal director. He's primarily only directed blockbuster movies, you know, like Cloverfield, Dawn, and War of the Planet of the Apes, which were all just fantastic movies. I've loved every single movie I've seen from Matt Reeves so far, and this is no exception. Honestly, this might be his best film. At least I think. I have to rewatch War for the Planet of the Apes, but this one is just another fantastic entry in his filmography. But he really brings a sense of intelligence to these blockbuster films, which I think is missing from a lot of movies that are churned out in the mainstream. And you really get the sense of that here. And of course, his whole crew around him, especially the Greg Fraser, who obviously just came off of a cinematography nomination and a probable Oscar win for Dune. Just the way he lights this movie and just the way he frames it. Every shot is like a painting. You could put it on your wall. There's especially this one impressive sequence where Batman's fighting these goons in the nightclub, and it is just wow, wow, wow. It's such an impressive feat of lighting, and I think he makes the most out of it. There's also a couple shots in this movie that I think are some of the best shots in any Batman movie, and really, once again, images you can hang on your wall, and honestly, images that will stick with me for a long time. There's especially one, without giving away near the end of the movie. If you've seen the movie, you know which one I'm talking about. It is just so beyond brilliant, and not just for a compositional standpoint, but for a story standpoint as well. But the editing is so on point. The sound editing is fantastic. Everything about this movie, I think this could really sweep up in the technicals at the Oscars next year, like with cinematography, film editing, sound, makeup. There's so many things you could throw this into, and really it feels like such an accomplished film from that side of things, and I think that is what's so great about it. But obviously the story, I was touching on it feels so timely, and it's one of those things where you just can't wait to watch what unfolds. And yes, I get it, the runtime is almost 3 hours, and I suppose you do feel it a little bit, but it's not really that bad. There are only a couple scenes where I was like, okay, you know, we can get going on this, but I never really, I thought it was so well paced, it wasn't really an issue for me at all. But there are a few things in this movie that are a little problematic for me, and one of them I think is, well, one major plot hole, which I will get into more in my spoiler review, which I think makes absolutely no sense. There's also a couple times what I like to call the No Time to Die syndrome, because in that movie, Bond just kept getting blown up, and things kept blowing up in his face, and he was fine. Nothing happened. He didn't die or anything. He just, his hearing went out, and that was it. So, you know, that happens a couple times here where Batman should have absolutely died, and by some miracle he didn't. So, you know, I guess you got to suspend yourself in disbelief a little bit, but it's still, you know, it's a problem. It's not flawless in that way. And also, there's a couple of things that they were a little bit on the nose about, which bugged me because I thought a lot of this story was told brilliantly through visuals, especially one scene in the movie, which I will spoil, I guess, because it is in, they've released the scene officially on YouTube, but at the funeral scene where Bruce is looking at that boy just sitting alone at the pew, you know, obviously he's at the funeral of his father, and just him looking at him tells you everything you need to know about Bruce Wayne as a character, and so it's kind of weird that later on in the movie they do things that kind of like, I guess, contradict that. It doesn't really make much sense to me, and of course there's some stuff that feels kind of rushed and kind of not fleshed out very well. And also, I guess, I don't know if this is a criticism, but people have complained about Robert Pattinson's Bruce Wayne, where he's just kind of like edgy emo, he's running around, he's just saying, oh, I'm so sad, I'm so sad. And that he should have a different personality, a public persona, if you will, of Bruce Wayne, as opposed to his counterpoint with Batman. But I think it's fine. I don't think it's the best portrayal we've seen of Bruce Wayne. I still have to give that to Christian Bale. But, you know, only time will tell. what the next movies have in store for us, because I'm guessing there's going to be more. There has to be. And yet again, I think the thing that is great about this movie, though, it isn't just Batman solving this crime. He also has his own arc, which isn't like the most obvious arc that Batman has ever had in any movie, but I think him kind of learning like what he's supposed to mean to Gotham, it really is just so compelling, and I just think suits the story so well and suits the character of Batman, because obviously this is him in his formative years, so he was still in the process of getting things right, but really this movie is just so brutal and uncompromising in every way possible. It feels like it's R, but it's not, and I think that's the other thing where people say, oh, you know, this needs to be R for it to work. No, it doesn't. You just need the director that knows what they're doing, and that's what they got with Matt Reeves, and I just can't wait to see what he does next. But overall, besides the things I've mentioned, I think that this is just such an engrossing crime thriller. It's not a comic book movie, really. It feels like something much more than that. And really, I think one of the best Batman movies. If you had to ask me, I think that this is the best DC movie since The Dark Knight. And I think probably so far my third favorite Batman movie. So yeah, it lived up to the hype. And I can't wait to see it again. I've only seen it once. But even just seeing it one time, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Already a strong contender for my top 10 of 2022. And we haven't even gotten through the year yet. So, man, this has been happening quite a bit these past few years. But really, I think that this is one of the best movies of the year and will remain as such to the very end. And yeah, please guys, go check this. Even if you aren't a huge fan of comic book movies, this one might do it for you. I know some people are kind of split on it, but overall, I think the praise is pretty unanimous, and deservedly so, because this is just a fantastic movie. So, what did you guys think of the Batman? Drop your comments down below. In this one, I know I passed over Spider-Man. I mean, it's too late to do a spoiler review for that. But this one, I will be doing a spoiler review, so stay on the lookout for that. And in the meantime, guys, if you like what I'm doing here, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. Always could use the support. Very excited to bring you these next few videos. And speaking of Greg Fraser, we were just talking about him, the cinematographer of this movie, I am going to bring you my review of Dune. That's right, that's the next review in my Best Picture nominee discussions, so be on the lookout for that. That's going to be out to you in the next few days. And be sure to stay on the lookout for my top 10 albums of the 2010s, my final entry in my running series of top 10 albums through the decades. So yeah, guys, be on the lookout for that. And also make sure to check out the community list I'm doing. I'm going to drop that link in this video as well, so you can check that out if you're interested. And yeah, guys, can't wait to talk more Batman soon, and I'll see you later.